Well, ho, 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 and welcome to the County Manager's Report. I'm Lloyd Higuera. No, actually I am. See, under here, it's Lloyd. Yeah. Thought it was Santa, didn't you?
This is my favorite part of this show that we've ever done, Lloyd.
And he made me wear this.
I'm too much of a coward. I told you could pull it off. I couldn't pull it off.
Well, Steve Mokroheisky is here, our county manager, and it's the County Manager's Report. And it's nice that we're getting back together again. It's been a little layoff in between here.
Yeah, we've had a little break.
Yeah, a little break.
Let's get back to work.
Yes, exactly. The December 6th meeting of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners, to be exact. And commissioners at that meeting, they approved authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds in the amount of $7.8 million, and this is for the new community senior center. Right. And that's well underway, isn't it? It
is. We broke ground on the community center several weeks ago and continue to make a lot of progress there. This is the second issuance of general obligation bonds that we pursued, two different bonding issuances for a total of about $14 million in public bonding for this project, and then there will be some other funds that will come from room tax and medical indigent to support other construction costs for the facility. So the project, the total cost of the project is around $17 to $18 million, and so this is the last bond issuance that we'll do. We've had a really favorable interest rate climate, and so we received about a 3% interest rate on the first issuance that we did, which was a longer term. This is a shorter term bond issuance, and we're hopeful that we'll get something in the range of 2%. So the cost to borrow money these days is fairly low, and so it's a good time to be borrowing money to do construction projects like this. In addition to the fact that it's a good time to be building because there are contractors out there that are hungry for work. It's a very competitive environment. The materials cost is still pretty reasonable, and so we feel so far everything on this project is coming together, and we're going to be able to build the best facility possible. We're really trying to build about a $25 million facility for about $17 million. Nice, so we're trying to get it. We're stretching this $17 million that we have as far as we can, and we're really pleased, as I said, so far with what we're seeing on the design build project.
Well, we are making progress. I noticed all kinds of heavy equipment over there in Herbrig Park. Mm-hmm. Where exactly are we in the process right now with the multi-gen center?
The pad site is complete, and so the site work that needed to be done is complete. The plans for the Waterloo Lane extension and modifications are about 90% complete, and then once those are done, we'll bid the project, the Waterloo Lane expansion project, in January. Our goal, of course, we broke ground on the facility already. Construction, we plan to begin spring to summer of 2013. So, a rather quick turnaround. At this point, we've got 3 finalists for the design build project, and they are scheduled to submit their final plans and proposals on December 21st. Once they submit those, then we'll go through the review process with the our design team that's reviewing all this, and we'll make a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners, most likely at their February 7th board meeting. That's tentatively what we've scheduled, is February 7th for the board to approve the contractor, the design build contractor that will do this work, and then once spring hits, that we'll start construction on the project. So continue to move forward and make really good progress. And we are on schedule at this point to open at least the senior facility, senior portion of the facility, in the spring of 2015. So just about 2 years away.
That's great. Things are well underway, that's for sure.
Well underway. Yep, making good progress, and we will once we break ground. Once we begin construction on the project, we will come back to the board and do regular project updates every few months to keep the board and the public informed on progress on the project, on how the costs are coming in and everything else. But because it's a design build project, and we're basically telling the contractors we have this much money you can spend to build this facility, that's it. You can't go over. And so they're going to give us proposals, we'll select one, and and ultimately they will build us the facility that we select for the amount of money that we have available. So we like the model that we're using for the construction of this project.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to those updates. Also at that December 6th meeting, there was a 5-year contract approved by commissioners with ABS Aviation Services to manage the Douglas County Airport. And they've been managing the airport for some time now, so is this a renewal of the contract?
It is. We've been working with ABS since 2010. And in March of 2010, the prior airport manager left, and we went out and did a lot of due diligence for the course of about a month. We did research, analysis, talking to other airports around the country, and we did a 6-month contract. It turned into 9 months with ABS to do an interim consulting services and airport management. And because that was so successful, and the airport manager, Bobby Thompson, the consultant at the time that we had, was so well received, we began to look at doing a longer-term management contract for the entire staffing at the airport. And that was approved in January of 2011. It was a 2-year contract, which expires in January of 2013. So, for the past 2.5 years we've worked with ABS. We've reduced the costs significantly, about $50,000 per year from the prior staffing model that we had at the airport, so we're saving money doing that. We're generating more revenues in fees than we had in the past. We received $1.3 million in federal funds for taxiway maintenance. All of the events we've had at the airport, the education days and the aviation roundup and the soaring events, it just has, we really have done a 180 at this airport. The Minnetonka Airport is the only financially self-sufficient general aviation airport in the state of Nevada. The only other 2 airports that are financially self-sufficient, meaning the money they generate at the airport from fees from users pays for all the cost to operate it. The only other 2 are McCarran in Las Vegas and Reno Tahoe. And those both are commercial airports. And so we're the only one that has no commercial, which typically those make money. And yet we're financially self-sufficient. So just a great model that we've had with this business. So the contract we have now, we proposed to the board and the board approved, was a 5-year contract. So ABS will now be managing provide all the staffing, operations, maintenance, and management of the airport for the next 5 years. This model over the next 5 years, and when you include the last 2 years, saves us $240,000 compared to had we have been doing it for that same period of time with county staff. So it's really, we have a higher quality product there, better customer service, and we're saving money, positive cash flow, building reserves at the airport, and doing some really great things. So we're excited about this model. We're starting to get inquiries from other airports in the region and who are looking at this kind of thing, and it just has worked really well for us, and we'll continue to make positive progress.
Well, the airport really has turned around. When I think of years ago, what a contentious issue the airport was, and what it is today, there's no difference. I mean, no difference. There's a lot of difference.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. 180 degrees.
It has been, and at the board meeting, we had a number of, nobody got up to speak under public comment that was critical. We had probably half a dozen people who got up and spoke. One person who's a well-known business person in the community who has an airplane based at the Minnetonka Airport, has been at the airport for 20 years, a tenant there, said, for 20 years, I was treated like a nuisance at the airport. I was treated like I was in the way. For the past 3 years, I've been treated like I'm a customer. I've been treated with respect and responsiveness and care. And that, I thought that was a really powerful message for someone who's been there for that long to say. Another person got up with the Civil Air Patrol, who's also a well-known business person in the community, and said, this is the best management, the best operation we had. Said the same thing you said. 3 years ago, you had torches and pitchforks saying, what are you trying to do at the airport? Now, he turned around and looked at the audience and said, there's no one here to complain. There's only people to compliment and say what a great thing we're doing. So that's how it should be. We're doing the right thing. We're moving in the right direction. We have an airport that we're supporting sport aviation, soaring, and corporate flying and emergency services. Those are the things we said we want to be focused on the rural character of our community and not become a big commercial jet port type airport, and that's not the direction we're headed. So I think we're walking the talk, and we're not only doing a great thing for our community, but we're starting to be recognized throughout the state, the country, and internationally as the best place, one of the best top 2 places in the world for soaring. And so it's an exciting time, and what we want to do now is expand what we've done at the airport, the success we've had there in other places, and continue to make progress in other areas of the community.
Well, it's great progress at the airport, that's for sure. Commissioners also approved an agreement between Douglas County's redevelopment agency and the town of Genoa, and this is for the town's Main Street landscaping project, and that's underway, isn't it?
It is underway. We have 2 different projects that are underway in Genoa. One is the trail from Wally's into the town of Genoa, which is almost complete. We have a groundbreaking that, I shouldn't say a groundbreaking, it's a ribbon cutting, if you will. We're opening the trail on Saturday, January 26th, and invite anyone to come out and see that. That's really exciting. And then the other project is this Main Street Genoa enhancements, which is to create just, greater pedestrian open plaza experiences for businesses, for residents and visitors who come to Genoa. What a great historic community it is. And we have some wonderful events through Candy Dance and Cowboy Poetry and other events that are held there. And so these downtown enhancements will have benches and plazas and pavers and some neat ways to connect the different businesses. We've seen 8 new businesses go into Genoa in the past year and a half, which is just outstanding. A community of a couple hundred people, and there are 8 new businesses that have invested in large part because of these public improvements that are happening there. So this item, which was approved by the board and by the town, the Genoa Town Board, was to transfer the responsibility for maintaining these improvements to the town of Genoa. So now they will maintain all of those improvements, and really looking forward to these projects being complete and maintaining, again, as we did with the airport, really keep the core of what we have, but just bring the quality up. And that's what we're trying to do in Genoa, is keep the core historic cultural heritage that we have there, just improve the quality amenities for people. So it's great things going on in Genoa.
When should that landscaping project be done?
I believe it will be done within the next 9 months. I think, right now the trail is going to be complete, and then work is starting, or will begin to be started on the Main Street improvements, and I think by next summer and before Candy Dance 2013, the goal is to have all that work done.
Okay. Also on December 6th, commissioners heard a presentation reviewing the wildland fire season. And as the fire chief pointed out during that presentation, fire season now is kind of a year-round thing.
Yeah, it's unfortunately it is, and that's a reality in the West now that we have a year-round fire season. The last 18 months have been really a challenge. I think everybody knows that. We've had almost 18,000 acres that have burned in Douglas County, 2,300 privately owned acres, 24 structures have been lost, 5 firefighters injured, thankfully no documented civilian injuries, and a total of about $9.2 million in costs for these fires. And most of these fires people are familiar with. 2011 we had the Ray May fire, we had the Holbrook fire, the Burbank fire in 2012. We had the Washoe Drive fire. We had and some of these, not all of these, the Coughlin Ranch and the Washoe Drive fire were outside of Douglas County. TRE fire in 2012, remember that just kicked off, in May of 2012. We thought, boy, this is going to be a heck of a fire season. That was really the worst, yeah. The TRE fire was the worst. The Preacher fire, Springs fire, the Carter Springs fire. So, boy, we had some sleepless nights, particularly in this last year. Thankfully, we have just some great public safety responders, great firefighters and paramedics and law enforcement crews. I've been privileged to work with Chief Carlini and the Sheriff's Office and these folks, and I am continually amazed at the coordination between all the public safety agencies. That is not the case in every place across the country, where law enforcement and fire and EMS and all these and dispatch and all these entities work really seamlessly together. And there aren't turf battles, there aren't fights over this is mine, this is yours kind of thing. Everyone just says, what do you need? And I'll be there. And so it's something I think we need to be proud of, that we have. I think that's generally a mentality in the West for how to approach emergencies and natural disasters and events like this. But in Douglas County, and in northern Nevada, really unique. I was talking to the Carson City Sheriff Furlong, and he just said the same thing. Hey, look, you guys need something, we're there. We need something, we're calling you, and we know you're going to be there. So for all the challenges we have and the costs and issues with wildland fires and the concerns we had about flooding with the recent rainstorms that didn't materialize to the extent that we were concerned they would, the planning is outstanding, the preparation is there, the quality of and the skill of the public safety responders is there, and we'll just keep dealing with these things the best that we can.
Well, that $9+ million that went to fight those fires, we get reimbursed for some of that, right?
Yeah, in a good, that $9.2 million is not all Douglas County's cost. The majority of it is not Douglas County's cost, because
it was our assist calls.
It was for other agencies, a lot of federal and state agencies. A lot of the land is federal land. It's BLM and U.S. Forest Service land, and so where these fires happen on federal land, there are federal dollars that reimburse for those costs, and a lot of the response will come from BLM and Forest Service crews and equipment, and so a lot of the costs are tied up in that. Then there's also reimbursement for the fires where they're on federal land and our agencies respond to them. We can get reimbursed for a portion of those costs, but it can take a period of time for us to get reimbursed. So it's the reality that we deal with. But it is an issue from the standpoint of budgeting for East Fork Fire and for the other fire agencies. They've done a good job of putting money into reserves over the past several years to be prepared for years like we had this last year, where we had, last 18 months, where we had, 8 different major fire events. But now a lot of those reserves have been depleted because of the significant costs. So that's an issue down the road that we'll have to continue to address, is how do we plan to pay for these type of responses.
Right. Commissioners also heard a presentation on the five-year review of the East Fork Fire and Paramedic District Standards of Cover.
Right.
Standards of cover, what is that now?
The standards, these are the standards of coverage provided by East Fork Fire and by dispatch and the public safety agencies. So the types of, and it's really a great program that they've implemented to, prioritize the responses, the way in which they'll respond to different types of calls, collecting data, and, year over year on all the different calls for service and responses that they have, so that they can look at trends and see where they need to make improvements. And it's a great effort that East Fork Fire and the public safety community has done on the standards of cover. So to give you an example, from October 2010 to September 2011, that year period, compared to October 11 to September 12, we had about a 5% increase in the total number of calls for service, including over 200, an increase of over 200 EMS calls, fewer interfacility transfers. We had more fire calls, more standby, or about the same amount of standby calls. In 2010 to 11, we had 6 traffic-related deaths. 11 to 12, we had 4. So we had a slight reduction there. Thankfully, no fire-related deaths in either of those years. So this is the type of data that they collect in addition to a lot of other areas, and then they analyze their responses and continue to improve upon the way in which we provide public safety services to the community.
Okay. Also, a contract was approved by commissioners. This was in the amount of $2.6 million for the Douglas County Carson City Waterline Intertie project. So that project's still in motion.
It is, yeah. We're about a year away from wrapping up the final pieces of that project, and it really most of the work now is tied to connecting the pipeline to Carson City and the booster pump station that will service North Douglas County and Carson City, and that's what this item was a contract with Harbor Company, doing business as Mountain Cascade of Nevada, to construct the booster pump station that will service those areas, and it's funded by Douglas County and Carson City collectively through this agreement. So Very, a significantly costly project, but it's important to remember that the alternative, before we did this regional pipeline project, was you had Indian Hills and Carson City and Douglas County were all looking at doing arsenic treatment facilities for their individual service areas, and everyone decided there's collectively, if we all do these individual projects, we're going to spend twice as much money as if we come together and develop a regional approach. So this North County waterline project is really that regional approach, and again, it's costly, but it's been managed, I think, really effectively, and it's going to service our Northern Nevada region water needs for decades to come.
And along with that, Commissioners also approved an agreement for the construction and management of the booster pump station. So there's actual contract there between the two entities.
Right. What it is it's a construction management contract. So because this is a project that both Douglas County and Carson City are concerned with and funding, we want to make sure we have responsible construction management. And so we looked at contracting that out, but there were issues finding a vendor that had the availability to do it and the cost to do it. Carson City has recently established a construction management group. They're prepared to take that on, and the cost for them to do the construction management is about $205,000 less than it would have been to contract with a private entity. So it's a good agreement that we're putting in place there.
Okay. Also, Commissioners heard a presentation from the Nevada Association of Counties that's on their activities and priorities for the 2013 legislative session. So another session coming up.
Do you want a cookie, Lloyd? I'm staring at these cookies.
So
they look really good. Yeah.
I may have a little bite here while you're
Well,
talking.
I'm trying to sweeten you up because we worry about the state legislature and what's going to happen there. But in all seriousness, we are cautiously optimistic, I guess I would say at this point. Now, a lot of this hinges on the fiscal cliff discussions at the federal level. If the federal government is not able to resolve these issues with the fiscal cliff, it inevitably will have an impact on state governments, including the state of Nevada, which will then trickle down to Douglas County. So let's hope that those issues at the federal level get resolved, and if they do, our belief is that the state of Nevada is getting to a place where revenues are starting to get stabilized, and we will continue to push for no more state pass downs. And actually what we're going to push for is for the state to eliminate some of the pass downs that they forced on the counties last time around. So we've been working with Nevada Association of Counties, with our 4-county region, with the governor's office and our legislative folks, including Senator Settlemyre, to see if we can get some of those cost shifts eliminated from our budget, including the biggest one, which has been Child Protective Services, Rural Child Protective Services, almost $300,000 a year to our general fund. If we didn't have to spend that money on paying the state for for subsidizing that additional cost, we could put it into road maintenance, and we could hire local contractors to maintain roads in Douglas County, and it would be, in our view, money much better spent. So that's an example of what we're pursuing, but we'll actively monitor the next legislative session. Cooperative extension, community college funding is a big issue. NDOT and roads, there's been a push from the Department of Transportation to pass road maintenance highways, state highways, down to the local governments. That'd have a huge impact on us. Medical indigent funding and this whole Medicaid, Affordability Care, Obamacare Act, and Medicaid funding issue that will have an impact on local government. So these are all things that we'll continue to monitor and advocate on behalf of Douglas County and its residents in the next legislative session.
Sounds like it would be kept very busy.
Yeah, we have a busy year in front of us.
Commissioners at that December 6th meeting also adopted an ordinance for a development agreement between Vista Sierra, that's previously known as Montera, and Douglas County, and that's amending the development schedule for the project. So is this new company going to finish that development then?
Well, that's certainly the hope, and we we believe that with this new developer coming in and having the ability to make new investments, that the likelihood that this project will get completed is much greater than it was before. And we're starting to see this in a few areas where it appears as though the housing market has hit a bottom, and you're starting to see new investors come in and buy these development projects up, and starting to make significant investments there. So I think that's a hopeful sign. So this amending the development schedule is an attempt to work with the new developer to create the most reasonable path to see some progress there.
Okay. Yeah, because it would be nice to finish that development.
Well, we have a number of these development projects.
Yeah.
I mean, the Minden Gateway is a commercial development project that we've seen, and starting to see some progress there. And so, we want to see these projects get completed.
Yeah, well, the Gateway is looking good. There's a major service station in there, and the tractor company is moving in, and
Right.
it's really starting to fill up.
Right, that's good. And Windhaven, there's a new owner for the Windhaven, the remaining development to occur there. So I think those are these are all good signs that we're starting to see some new investment coming in.
Okay. Also adopted by commissioners was an ordinance that's changing zoning on property in the ranchos. We've talked about this one before, from public facilities to single-family residential.
Right.
It was kind of a housekeeping matter, but
it was the
some
second
property was located that was not zoned properly.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Why don't you just do the rest of the show? Because you covered it.
Well, it just, it's one of those housekeeping things.
It is, yeah.
So,
And you're right. It was a second reading, so we've talked about it before, and it was approved there. So
okay, so those
thanks
folks
for doing my job for me.
Those folks feel a lot better now that they're zoned properly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Commissioners heard the 24-month review, speaking of development projects, for two projects known as Ashland Park and Aloha Ranch, and that's required by Douglas County and state code.
That's right. Yeah. Yep. And the Ashland Park, they've been given until January 18th, 2013 to submit an application to revise the phasing plan and development schedule, so there's some time there. On the Aloha Ranch, the timing has really expired. It was extended. The time to record the Phase 2 final map was extended to December 20th, 2011, but that Phase 2 final map was never recorded, so the project approval has expired. So that's the update on those, but as you said, we're required to do those 24-month updates by code.
Okay. Well, that pretty well covers the meeting of commissioners. Maybe we can get a quick preview in here for the December 20th meeting up at Lake Tahoe.
Sure, yeah. We have, a few items. I think the meeting only times out at about an hour and a half, 2 hours, but some interesting things there. We have a financial audit report. Every year we do have an outside auditor come in and review our financials for the prior fiscal year, and so we'll have a report on that. We have a proposed reorganization of the finance division, and I'm really pleased with the work Christine Valetich, our Assistant County Manager and Chief Financial Officer, has done on that. The parameters I gave were, we need to spend less money and have fewer positions and add more value. And so if you can do that, then let's bring it forward, and she's done an excellent job of we'll spend about $106,000 less from what's currently budgeted if this is approved. We'll have one fewer management position if this is approved, and we'll create a significant amount of increased value just by realigning and creating some more efficiencies there in financial analysis and reporting. So we'll talk more about that later. Big deal, a 3-year contract with the deputies, the sheriff's deputies. So if this is approved, 100% of county employees will be on 3-year contracts, and we now have really put ourselves on a path to stabilize our expenses. And then finally, we'll have economic indicators for economic development. So we have some good things to talk about after the next meeting.
Okay. Well, Steve, I want to thank you for being here.
Thank you, Lloyd.
Sharing all the information.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, too.
We don't talk before then.
And Happy New Year, too.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's all coming up. And, I won't have to put this back on, do I?
No.
Okay,
that's all right.
Thank you very much.
Next time.
Well, that's going to wrap up this edition of the County Manager's Report. I'm Lloyd Higuera, and we'll see you next time.